Hey there, everybody. I'm Christina Lynch, and I'm here today with Chris Stillwell,
Hey,
who is our DE coordinator for professional development. Hey, Chris, how's your day going?
it's going great. Thanks, Chris. How are
All
you?
right, I'm fine. What are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Hit me.
Okay, good. I was gonna dive in without asking that.
Yeah.
What is your favorite streaming or TV series?
Well, let's see. So I'm going to cheat a little bit. So I like White Lotus is one of the last things I saw. Saw both seasons of that. That was a lot of fun. But I'm more into listening to like library books, e-audio books.
Hmm.
So I just finished Colson Whitehead's Harlem Shuffle. Was excellent.
Ooh, yes.
Jennifer Egan's Candy House was also amazing as an audiobook because they had a different narrator for each chapter for all the different narrators of the book. And I just started really great book called The Italian Party. Excited about that one.
Flattery will get you everywhere.
Here we are. Up and coming author, Christina Lynch.
What's the main reason you chose teaching?
Main reason. Well, I started out, I wanted to just spend a year in Spain. I had finished college and I didn't know what to do with myself. And I threw the idea out to my dad and I expected him to shut it down and tell me to get serious or something, but he actually supported me on it. And so I kind of had to go. And the way I survived in Spain was I was teaching and I was terrible. I was terrible at it. And I came back and I went to New York and I was there for a while and teaching was what I ended up doing there as well, because that's what I had experience in now. I was still terrible, but I eventually got better and I finally got a master's degree. And when I did, it was like, holy cow, this is like amazing. Like every class was my favorite class. So I kind of stumbled into it and gradually got more and more comfortable with it. But it was a pretty natural fit for me, I guess, because my undergraduate majors were psychology and theater, which kind of only prepares me for teaching. I think that's just about it.
That's perfect. I know you've taught ESL for us, but you're now teaching us, so the faculty. So can you tell us a little bit about the professional development that you do?
Yeah, so I'm the kind of person who is really boring to meet at a party if you're not a teacher, and maybe if you are a teacher, you're going to be sorry about it too, because I like to talk about teaching for fun. It feels more like my hobby than anything else. It's just kind of uh, I've heard of workaholics and workaholics, and I think when it comes to teaching, maybe I fall into the second category a little bit. So my workshops that I do are usually about something that I'm just really excited about, and it seems like there's a need. If there's some kind of a need somewhere, and I say maybe I could help with that, or maybe I can't, but I want to figure it out too, then I get to put on a workshop. I really think this is like one of the best jobs possible because I just keep finding like a cool thing that I think would be really useful, and let's do a workshop. And from that, like I come prepared with a lot of things because I do a lot of background researching into it, of course. But I also really like the opportunity to open it up and say, what are you all doing? You know, like soon I'm going to have one about assessments, which I guess will be in the past when this comes out, maybe. But that's the topic that, yeah, I can talk about it a lot, but I'm super curious, like, what is everybody else doing about assessment at colleges, Sequoias, and what works? And to me, that's more valuable than something out of a book or something out of a research paper or something, is just knowing what are my colleagues doing with the same kinds of students and what's successful.
Fantastic. What is your proudest non-teaching accomplishment?
Well, I have a funny thing where I kind of like to do a 1 year challenge to just see if I can do something for 1 year, because it seems like, you know, you should be able to do that. So I mentioned Spain. That was my first 1 year challenge. Another one was I turned myself into a marathon runner in a little bit less than a year. And I was somebody
Wow.
who didn't, you know, I didn't think of myself as athletic at all. But I had some drinking buddies in Japan, and maybe the drinking buddy side of things needed to tone down a little bit. And they were starting running, and so I started with them and managed to pull that off. So that was one. I was vegetarian for a year. So things like that.
I love it. The 1 year challenge. What is something most people don't know about your past?
Something most people don't know about my background. I think I mentioned the psychology theater undergrad degree. And so when I went to New York, I was still trying to be an actor. That's one reason I didn't really fully commit to being a teacher, an actor or a director. And I did end up getting more work as a director. And so I directed a play called Journey's End off Broadway, and it got some kind of an award for one of the best plays off Broadway that year. And
Wow.
I even ended up directing a one-act play with John Lloyd Young in his first play, and he ended up getting the Tony Award for Jersey Boys. So I had kind of a, it was a fun little thing that I was trying to do for a while, but it's very hard to be successful in theater in New York or anywhere, I think.
Excellent. What's your watch it 1,000 times movie?
That's a tough question. It doesn't feel like there's ever time to watch anything, even 3 times, but probably there are a few movies that if it's on, I'll stop and sit down. And The Shining is one of them. And my favorite experience with The Shining was I remember one night I was home alone and it was on TV that night. This was a while back. And I thought, I'll watch it. I don't mind being home alone with this movie and I'm sure I'll be fine. And I turned out the lights to really enjoy it. And after about 5 minutes, I turned the lights back on. I kept watching, but the lights had to come back on. And I might have called somebody for comfort and support for the rest of the movie. I'm not sure.
Yes. What's one piece of advice for your students who are, in this case, us?
Wow. Well, I guess for COS instructors, I would say reach out to your colleagues, get to know your colleagues and enjoy them. We've got so many great colleagues. I've thought back to my past career now, and I think back to the jobs I've loved and the jobs that I haven't. And the jobs I've loved have always been the ones where I've gotten to know my colleagues and kind of become friends with them and just found a lot of reasons to respect them and learn from them. And so that would be the best thing, I think, is the more people can kind of build those relationships, the more meaningful everything becomes. Even at College of Sequoia, as I look back at my first couple of years, and this was in the back of my mind, but it's tough starting out to kind of get to know people. But over time, I've gotten to know a lot of people. And like I said, it's one of the best things about my job. And so, yeah, I would say push for that kind of thing.
On Sunday, do you hike a mountain or kill zombies?
Hike a mountain.
What's a favorite recent teaching moment?
Well, I've got a favorite. One of my favorite lessons that I do for ESL is one that I call The Queen and the Cat. And it's about writing, and it's about kind of writer's block and brainstorming and just getting the voice out of your head that kind of stops you from putting anything on that blank piece of paper. And what we do is we look at the story of Alice in Wonderland, and we look at the Queen and how the cards are painting the roses red, because if the Queen finds out they made a mistake, she'll cut off their heads. And then I tell the students that, sorry guys, the Queen is going to be your substitute teacher for writing class today. You have to write a paragraph and mistakes, okay? And this is ESL. And so I give them just 1 minute to write as much as I can, but no mistakes. And then after that, we do another one. We look at the Cheshire Cats and the story about how Alice meets the cat in the woods. And she says, where should I go? And the cat says, where do you want to go? And she says, I don't care. And the cat says, well, then it doesn't really matter. Just keep on going and you'll get somewhere. And then the cat is their teacher. And the students have 1 minute to just keep writing, write whatever you want. It doesn't matter. You'll get somewhere. You can even write, I don't know what to write, but I'll keep writing. And we do that. And then we have a nice discussion afterwards about, okay, so which one do you think was better for you for learning language, better for you for generating ideas, better for you for different things, lots of different reflection questions. And it's always a lot of fun to see, like some students campaign, most students go for the cat, of course, as being a nicer teacher, and they generate more writing that way. But there's always a handful who say they like the Queen as kind of a voice in their head to sort of concentrate on the language. And we sort of come to an agreement that maybe both are good if you start with the cat and then switch to the Queen. And that becomes a metaphor for the class for this semester.
Yeah, that is I love that exercise.
It's a lot of fun.
Where do you like to go for a long weekend?
Yes, Yosemite. If we can get up there, that's great.
Yes. Do it now or wait until the last minute?
Do it now. Now.
What other career would you pursue?
That's a tough one. I'm pretty happy where I am. I guess if I pursued another career, I would do more and more of the professional development side of things, because I really, like I said, working with other teachers, working with colleagues, to me is like being at a party. I shouldn't let any bosses hear that, but that's a really good time for me. So if I could find more in that area, like I've done some things with the State Department, and I guess if I could do more there, that would be great.
Cool. What's your favorite anxiety reliever?
Probably swimming. I've really gotten into just hop in the pool. There's something weird about it that after about 20 or 30 minutes, I just start to feel really kind of happy, really, really warm. There's something very satisfying about it. It's a swimmer's high or something.
What is one inanimate object you'd take to a desert island?
Probably a piano keyboard of some sort. I like to play music. That's another stress reliever for me. If I have something like just really kind of psychologically bothering me, just sit down and kind of improvise some music, and that makes me feel better. So I imagine I'd get a lot of mileage out of that.
Office decor, minimalist or maximalist?
Well, I was always impressed with the Disney animators. I remember touring a Disney cartoon studio, animation studio a long time ago, and they had these desks with these kind of this wall of inspiration of doodles and things. So I would love to have that kind of thing in my office, but I haven't managed to pull it off recently. So I guess currently it's minimalist, and I definitely don't like to have clutter on my desk. I like to be able to just sit down and feel like I can get to work without having to rifle through a bunch of papers.
I've got a huge pile here.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
I can
all-
relate. I've definitely been there. The thing is, I know that if the papers will kind of take over my life, and I've been there. I actually, for a birthday a few years ago, asked my kids to come in and help me organize my office to just save me from myself. And that was a great gift, and I've been keeping that up for a few years since.
What's the biggest obstacle you would remove for students if you could?
Any hesitation about making mistakes, I guess, would be the thing, especially for learning language. If I'm thinking about that, I just really love to reinforce for students that you can't learn without making mistakes. And mistakes are really good. It's your brain kind of testing hypotheses and figuring out what's happening here. So there should be no shame about mistakes, but there should also be reflection. But yeah, the number one thing is relax, just try it, and that's part of the learning.
What's the best thing about being a Costa member?
Well, I'm super. I have a lot of gratitude for all the hard work that the Costa members put in, especially the people who represent us and run the whole organization. I think it's really awesome, all the things they do to make sure that we have a great environment to work and a great environment for students to learn. So I just feel very lucky to be a part of that.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much.
All right, my pleasure. Thank you, Chris.